Today we're going to have Dr. Johnny speaking. Dr. Johnny is an amazing physical therapist in the Dallas area. After him, we will take, so this will be a 15 to 30 minute presentation for our speaker. We have 3 speakers. We'll take a little break to switch in between, and then we'll have Shireen from the Wim Hof method. And our very own Nora Moreno over here, looking beautiful today. So one thing, the speakers, you guys don't necessarily, unless you want to, need a mask, but everyone else, we would request that you please keep your mask on the whole time. And if you need to use the restroom or anything, please use the break in between speakers. So without further ado, Dr. Johnny.
Thank you. And thank you for the mask policy, because I treat patients in the mask, and every time within 5 minutes I'm just sweating bullets. Look like I'm having the worst time. So thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. I really like this Masterminds concept. I think it's really cool. I've been to one before, and the speakers are really good, so I'll try not to let you guys down. With this presentation today, I'm hoping to share with you guys my understanding of the rib cage and how it limits or doesn't limit the shoulders. And I'm keeping it very specific because we got 15 to 30 minutes, and the body's a complex beast. So the first thing I like to do is just call up a volunteer. Just try to come up.
Yeah, got to.
Cool, man. So I'm gonna be within 6 feet. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Cool. So when I talk about the rib cage, I like to try to break down a complex thing and make it very simple. So really quick, I'll just draw something on this whiteboard. Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah.
You're also going to be a test subject. Cool. So if you take a look, I'm left-handed, so give me a break. If you take a look at the human body, specifically the rib cage, we can think of it as being divided into 8 quadrants. Okay, there's 4 in the front and then 4 in the back. The way that people refer to these quadrants in like medical terms, like the top of your lungs are called 8 equal portions, and then you have like the lingula on the left side, and you have the right side as well. Right lower quadrant. So with these quadrants, the ability to expand and compress. So we're going to take a look at a certain motion. We're going to talk about how it relates to the lungs, and then how to address those problems. So you can either address this on yourselves or your clients in the future. So I'm going to put this down. Try, if you don't mind, can you lay down on your back with your head down, your feet on the table, knees bent. Cool. Can you scoot just a little bit to your left so that head's out of the hole? Cool. So we're going to take a look at internal rotation of the shoulder. Okay, a very specific motion. If you think about like the bench press or a push-up, as your arm comes behind you, it internally rotates. So I kind of got on this track with everybody saying, hey, my shoulder hurts when I do this. Take a look at it and they do something like this. I'm like, oh, that's not really right. I wonder why that shoulder does this. That's very interesting. So we take a look, we say, okay, let that be nice and relaxed as best you can. We don't stop the shoulder, we just rotate it down, and then the shoulder wants to stop right about there. Feel that restriction? Cool. So what that tells me is that Stratton has an inability to expand at his upper right rib cage. Okay, if you cut this guy in 4s, his top front right is limited, it's compressed. He's not able to expand it fully. So he gets on the bench press and he goes, and then he bench presses and that doesn't inflate like it should, he gets jammed at his shoulder. So we're going to do what air does. Okay, air just follows the path of least resistance. If he can't put air in the top right front, we're going to lay him on his back and block the back, and then we're going to block the lower left side. So when air comes in, it hits my hand and the table, it has to go everywhere else, specifically that top right. So this could be an exercise, this could be a manual technique. We're going to do a manual technique because of the simplicity of it. So Strat, just go ahead and breathe in through your nose. As deep as you can, as deep as you can. When you exhale, I want you to let it all go. So if we can close off this lower left side, when you breathe in, big exhale. I'm going to put your arm right here. I want you to try to avoid my hand, okay? Breathe in. Cool. So I just saw some expansion in his right chest wall. I felt a little bit less resistance underneath my hand, so we're going to reach at his shoulder. And that's an easy change. Stratton, thanks for being easy, buddy. Come on down. So it can be pretty easy to make change with the human system. It's complex, but it's not complicated, okay? So the next thing that we're going to look at is going to be external rotation. My man, what's your name?
Denver.
Denver?
Yeah.
Cool. I was just there a couple weekends ago. That place is sick. Why don't you come on up? If I was okay with this security girl?
Yeah.
Cool. Can you be the same position for me, please?
Sure.
Actually, can you put your head down there? That'll be a little bit easier this next one. Yeah. And then scoot this way a little bit. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to look at, because look at this guy. This guy can expand his chest, okay? There's no doubt about it. But we're going to see if he can expand his back. And I chose him because his chest looks very well inflated, so maybe he's got some restriction on the opposite side. So if he can breathe up here, but he can't breathe back here, we're going to see a limitation in external rotation. So let's take a look. I'm going to take this left arm from you. It should just flop back to the table. And it's close, you know, it feels a little clicky in there, you feel something like jumping around, but it wants to stop about 5-10 degrees short. It's not too bad. Hopefully this guy works out, okay? So I want you to come on down. So we have to teach this guy how to expand his left back, okay? So I'm gonna have you, so everybody can see you pretty well, just come stand here like this. You're gonna be a little squat pattern, just like this. I'm gonna coach you from there. Cool. So I want you to put your weight back on your heels, and I want you to turn your back into a turtle shell, okay? So as much as you can, good. Now I want you to press your left hand down pretty hard. You feel like your left belly? Cool. Take a big deep breath in, and a big exhale. We see him trying to like straighten his back up. Okay, we don't want to stop him from doing that, so I'm going to help him a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and try that again. Now, it wasn't as much straightening, so something's got to be happening. Let's get one more. And there we go. We got some expansion. Okay, if anybody can't see that, that's okay. We're going to recheck the text. Why don't you put it back down. Scoot down a little bit. Thank you, sir. And that's floppy. No bounce almost at all. Okay? So, once again, come on back down. The quadrants of the rib cage determine our shoulder limitations. Okay, so you're going to take a seat. Appreciate your comment. No applause on that one. So, when it comes to training clients, you know, a lot of clients complain, and it's not their fault. Okay, they're like, hey, I can't get in that position. You know, oh, I can't get underneath the bar. My shoulder doesn't do that. Okay, but it's usually not the shoulder. Okay, and I say, what if it was a shoulder? It could obviously be the shoulder, right? I'm not crazy. I'm like, oh, everything's a rib cage. But there's a hierarchy to this. Okay, if movement comes from the inside out, then the movement limitations are going to start from the inside and show themselves out. Now, I can't just grab someone's ribs and see if they go the right way. I can't do that to people, but I can look at their shoulders, and you can look at your shoulders and determine, okay, if it doesn't do this, I need to be able to do that. If it doesn't do this, I need to be able to do that. Okay? So those are the two easiest things to make change with, but there's one other one that's pretty important, especially for anybody who does anything like this. It creates rotation. So, my man, what's your name?
Awesome.
Awesome. Nice. Let's come on down. Let's be in the same position as Denver. Why don't you go put your head down there? So when we walk, when we swing things, when we do pretty much anything as human beings, we rotate. Okay, actually, I'll say a quick story real quick. I want you to sit up so you're not missing the story. If you look at humans as a species, like we dominate, right? Clearly, like we build stuff, we put like scars down on the earth and drive our cars over them, and no one said shit. Okay? Now, why is that? How can we possibly do that? Well, it started somewhere. Okay, it started back on the plains of Africa, if you believe in that kind of stuff. And essentially, there was only one creature that could go upright and move forward for just about ever. Okay? There was only one species that can breathe and run at the same time. You take a cheetah, and every time that they put their feet down, they exhale. And then they go, and then open up, and then stride again, and eventually they get exhausted. They max out their endurance. But humans don't do that. Okay? People are running ultra marathons like Shereen was telling us about earlier. She can run 50-something miles, okay, without having to stop. So cheetahs, they didn't stand a chance. Antelopes, they were getting slaughtered by the millions, okay? We were eating that stuff, and we were growing. We were feeding our brains and getting smarter. So we need to rotate as human beings. When we get hurt, we go into this primitive mode where it's like, oh, my body hurts. Whenever we face a stressor we can't meet, say like the barbell's too heavy, we do this thing called extension, okay? And extension robs us of our ability to rotate. What's going on now? So this guy looks pretty good. This probably wasn't the best test subject. We're going to take a look. Why don't you go ahead and bend those knees, and I'm going to have you scoot over here to the edge. You're going to be so far on the edge, right there, perfect. Now this arm should point right at the floor, okay? It points Todd. It points right at Todd's movement, okay? Cool. Why don't you go ahead and stand on up? So we just said that extension robs us of our ability to rotate. And we got my man Denver flexing to restore some of his shoulder rotation. Okay, so we're gonna get you flexing and we're gonna restore your rotation too. Watch you get back on the table on your hands and knees, okay?
That's right.
Yeah. So, this looks like a cheetah position, but it's a very different thing, okay? Not saying that. I'm gonna have you go ahead and tuck your tail underneath you as hard as you can. You don't need back pain, do you?
No.
Okay, good. This won't give it to you. Go ahead and tuck your tail as hard as you can. Press through your hands as hard as you can, and go ahead and breathe in slow. Okay? Because now we're gonna take this rib cage, and we're gonna take it from its extended position. We're gonna flex it, and we're gonna expand it as hard as we can in all three directions to make it round again. I want you to breathe in. Big exhale. We want to take a press. And I want you to breathe in. Push through those hands, don't be shy. Oh, big exhale, tuck. Find that low abs. Let's make this rib cage round again. 2 more breaths. Big exhale. And his triceps aren't shaking because of his body weight, okay? Something else is happening here. Cool, once you rest that, go ahead and lay down on your back. Take a look. Knees bent, feet flat, man. Cool, scoot over to the edge. Nice and relaxed. Okay, only a couple degrees of change. Okay, so this guy's pretty tense. He's got something else going on, okay? Why don't you come on up? You didn't work out today, did you?
No, yeah.
Okay, cool. What did you do for a workout?
Chest.
Okay, perfect. But there is, I said that before, like, yes, if your shoulder doesn't rotate, is it only the rib cage that can possibly be stopping? And no, it's not. There's a hierarchy. There's a base level of compensation, and it starts on the inside. The next level is soft tissue. So one of the things that we tend to tell patients and clients is that when you're addressing the human body, you're dealing with a complex system. And what we do with complex systems is we systematize them in order to make them less complex. If you walk into every training session, every workout, or every patient appointment with just a brand new, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this guy, I'm gonna figure it out, you're gonna get lost often. So, you have certain principles. This is a small triangle with some horrible penmanship. So what it says is position precedes soft tissue, okay? So a lot of times people go into the gym, their quads are tight, so they foam roll their quads, and then they do something that would lengthen their quads like a reverse Nordic or something like that. Or they'll do like a hip thrust or something that would get them longer quads. But that is not ideal. Okay, what is ideal is to first restore position. So if your pecs are tight, because you worked them out and the soft tissue's tight, yes, you need to stretch your pecs. But first, you gotta get a round rib cage first. Okay, because those pecs create rotation in this motion, and without a round rib cage, one that can expand in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 quadrants, you're not gonna be able to fully release those pecs. You're always gonna have that shoulder pinching, you're always gonna get that recurring pain. Okay? Cool. I'm not sure about time, Scott, but you have to let me know.
Okay, I don't know.
You don't know? Cool. I'm gonna start. We're coming up on 20 minutes. So I did want to leave some time for questions because I know the way that I think about things and see things and talk about things is not the same as everybody else. So I want to hear what people think if there's any confusion. So, here's what Shereen.
So it was amazing.
Thanks.
How long does that stay?
That depends. So how long, if it's a base level compensation, where he's not expanding, things like the internal rotation one, where he's not expanding that part of his rib cage, why is he losing that in the first place is something we have to understand from like the questionnaire. So if I say, hey Stratton, what do you like to do with your body? He's like, oh, well, you know, I mostly just don't do anything except for we use soul fighters, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay? And I'm like, okay, show me your position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Go through all his moves, and every single one is like this. Every single one is grabbing and pulling, and every time he pulls like this. Then it's going to be a movement-related issue. And we got to address those movement mechanics before that's permanent. Okay? There's a gentleman in the back of the room. Okay? I won't point him out. But the first time I ever saw him, he had a limitation in right shoulder rotation. And he said he'd been doing a lot of things for it. Stretching his pecs, doing some stretches, trying to get things to move right. But they wouldn't. I believe we did one thing one time, and it was permanent after that. Because he didn't have any secondary compensations. He had a base level compensation. He programmed for it, trained it, got better, Amazingly, he does everything we ask him to, so he's pretty cool. Anybody else? Cool, what about the one I planted? No, I'm just kidding. Cool. So,
Can you speak to, like, say people have compensations in multiple directions? Is there a hierarchy to, like, where you would treat first and then go on from there?
Yeah, 100%. So this is not something I can find in the literature. Okay, so I actually, by the way, I have a reference list. I didn't print it out because I'm from Vermont and people up there don't raise trees. So if anybody wants some references for the things I'm talking about, just reach out to me via Instagram. It's all over the Greater Than stuff. Let me know. As far as a hierarchy goes, I'm going to give you that based on my experience, and that's it. So if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. I always treat internal rotation before external rotation. I always treat horizontal abduction before overhead flexion. The reason being is the complexity of each movement. So internal rotation is mostly limited by apical expansion of the lungs. There are some other things that could impact that. External rotation is mostly limited by tension in the upper back, but there's quite a few things that could impact that. And the complexity grows with horizontal abduction and overhead flexion. Basically all the positions you're going to get yourself in most situations. Anybody else? Okay, cool. So, thank you guys very much. It was really great talking to you guys. As Scott mentioned, I'm a physical therapist. Colton and I work at a clinic down in the Design District in Dallas. So if you ever have questions about this, whether it comes to like the research, knowledge, or treatment for yourself, anybody you know, just feel free to reach out to us via Instagram.
Where can people find you? What's the tag?
Instagram is at @thegym_docs, DOCS. And we also have a website, because we're a business, humanfunctionandperformance.com. That's the name of our company, and that's what we believe in. First, you got to be functional before you can perform.
All right, thank you. I mean, do you want to take a break?
I do.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute